You have no profile. That sentence hit me as if someone had turned off the air in the room and turned on a spotlight in my face. And at the same time, I was just standing there, in the middle of the room, so luxurious, and it seemed to be the scenario of the film for glass, marble, expensive perfume, and many people smile with your teeth, but not his heart. And it was only then that the man in the gray suit with a badge gleaming on his chest and pointed to me as if I were a stain on the carpet. You don't have the profile to be here. At the time, I felt dozens of eyes on me to enter. It is not only in the judgment. It was fun. A type of pleasure in a sick, as if my presence had turned the entertainment of luxury. I tried to speak, but someone else laughed before my voice come out. And so it came to pass that I did not expect. An investor, and those who are the owner of the world, it went through me, and it gave him a shoulder the fourth of the way. I almost fell off. My body no longer responds the same as before. But the worst thing was not to be the jerk. The worst thing has been the reaction to the side. Laughing. Laughter is the truth. I don't know what hurt more, the pain, physical, or to make sure that for them, I was just an object. The security guard came up to me with that attitude of the one who loves to have a little bit of power. Oh Lord, let's go to work with. The event is at a premium. I squeezed the handle of my old. The leather is spent, the seam open. The only thing that is out of place over there, it's me. And then, as if the universe should decide to increase the volume of the chaos, the security guard was a knock at my hand, and my folder is slipped on. He fell to the ground. You opened it. The papers flew away. In a second, I've heard of the phrase, the most disgusting of the night, coming out of someone's back on me. Getting the people important to you. I got on my knees and slowly, trying not to show it. My hands were shaking, but you were shaking. Do not fear. The other thing is, in memory of, because I've had a past life before. But this was something that no one there thought it would be. And this is what I want to tell you one thing. If you don't think that this story is about an old man humiliated in a fancy place, you'll be sure to scare you with what's next. Because in that room, it was not the only one. It was a trap. It wasn't just an old man with no profile. I was the only one who knew what was going to happen. And I'll tell you how it ended. And why is it that some people out there would never go to sleep in peace? I want to ask you two things very quickly, because here you can open your eyes in a way that is dangerous. Subscribe to my channel now and share this video with someone else who judge by appearance. Seriously, do it for me. Because in the end, I'm going to reveal to you here, it could change the way that you see to be able in love with each other. Now, breathe out, because I'm going to take a pro to start. But that's not the early one that you think. I know exactly what's going on in your head right now. You might be asking yourself, how do you get to a situation like this? How one ends up at the center of a public humiliation of that level? But let me tell you something that almost no one understands. I stop right there. I have chosen to be there. And that's a game changer. Because while everyone else in that room, I thought that I had come in by accident, at the instigation of or in desperation. I knew exactly where I was standing. It only has a single detail is dangerous in all of this. No one there knew it. And while no one knows who you really are, they show you who they really are. When I was finally able to get up from the ground, and the body is heavy and the paper is still half crumpled in his hand, it was only then that I saw the name tag hanging from the chest of the man, which led him to the circus as a whole. Renato Valencia. Notice in this behalf. A smile is thin. It is trained. A look. I don't think people are only estimates. You know the kind of people who is a measure of the other, as if he were appraising a product in a shop window, because it is. He came towards me with the peace of mind of those who have already had repeated that scene dozens of times. The peace of mind of those who are already part of them to other people. And you never have suffered as a consequence, none of it. He bowed slightly to his head as if he was being polite and said, "Oh Lord, you have to keep for a standard. The Lord understands it, right? Now tell me one thing. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Maybe in different words, but with the same venom?" I looked at him, and for a second, just a second, I have seen also the most expensive, in addition to the luxurious ambiance, in addition to a smile and tested, I have seen a person who believes that the world has no owner. And worst of all, do you believe that it is a part of the club's owners? At that moment, I knew exactly what was expected of me. I've had to lower his head. I should say sorry for existing. It should go away with a blush. This is what everyone in that room wanted to see it. But let me ask you something. Looking for you right now. How many times have you done exactly that just to avoid conflict? How many times have you left a seat, not because it was wrong, but because I have made you feel small? I was supposed to be gone for a while, but I didn't. I held her tight in my folder, and that folder is old. It had already been through more than anyone there, and I talked with a low voice, a subsidiary of the voice that compels the other person to lean in to hear, even against one's will. I just need 5 more minutes, a 5-minute drive. It will be enough to suck up the air in the room for half a second, and soon after that, the burst of laughter that came from high, created just for you, proc, with a roar of laughter that doesn't laugh at a joke, the RI of a person. I always felt that laughter as I cross over like I'm exposed, naked, and with no defense and no. Have you ever felt that? In the sense that they are laughing at you, don't you? And then the brother has answered that the false politeness that the only people that dangerous how to use. 5 minutes. The Lord don't get it. It is not just a matter of time. That is the question here. Profile. That one word was ringing in the back of my mind, and soon after, it was followed by a gesture. Low profile. Fast. Barely noticeable. But I vie. His hand moved slightly, and the security guard took a step forward. At that moment, it all became clear. It was right there. It was there that the story could fall apart once and for all. It was the most critical part, the point of no return. And do you know what is more terrifying? I didn't feel any fear. I feel a peace strangely. Almost all of us. As if everything is happening exactly the way it needed to happen. Do you know why? Because I wasn't there, looking about. I was not there, trying to prove its value. I was here for something far more dangerous. I was there for justice, and as long as they felt that they had complete control of that room, I held in my hands the very thing they feared, and they don't even have the slightest idea of this. I could have cried. You could be accused of everyone there. I could have done something to those who stopped to the event and saw the headline. But let me ask you a very direct. Who do you think you would go as a fool of the story? They are. Or do I? Over time, I've learned something, that it hurts to accept it, but it works. Sometimes on the way to a more efficient, bring down a castle. This is to let the king believe that you are kneeling on the floor at his feet. So I did just that. I took a deep breath. Swallow your pride. And I pretended that I was broken. I bent down again to gather the papers from the folder with the slow-moving, almost tired. And while I was at it, I feel your eyes all over me. They were not eyes to help. They were curious glances, decision-makers. It's almost funny. The people passing nearby just to look at, just to confirm. Is that what I'm seeing? Just to feel the taste of a cheap high ground. Have you ever felt that? The feeling of turning on a show without your having chosen to go up on the stage. And then came the scene that I wrapped it in the stomach. A woman wearing a dress is so expensive, and the scorn in the eyes, and stood next to me. She bent down, nor does feigned sympathy. Just looked at my briefcase on the floor, as if it was trash. And he spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. This type of person will always try to give a little amazing. That sort of people. You notice it? No, it was more about me as an individual. I had turned into one category, in a grade class, with a label on it. Like if I were to be anything, it is separated, avoiding, if you are discarding. And before I could join in all the papers in the safe, Ramon let out a small laugh. Short, those who are not so funny, you are strong. And without wanting to, he was kicked back to one of my papers, to that far away. In my paper. My power. In that second, my whole body reacted by instinct, the blood that came up. Your heart sped up. Everything in me wanted to stand up and put an end to there. And let me ask you something with a sincere heart. How many times have you been in the second to blow up? But you swallowed it all because he knew that the blow was only going to harm you. I have in my hand. Strong. Because in that moment, I realized something important. It wasn't just the humiliation. It was a stage. And they They were working better than they imagined. They were showing off who they really were. No filter, no fear, without a care. And with each word of the cross, each and every laugh, each and every gesture of contempt, it was the proof. Yes, proof. Live example of the kind of people they were when they thought no one important I was looking at. And then, as if he wanted to end the show with a flourish, your brother decided to take action. He came up to me with that tone of false authority and let out a sentence that, to me, it sounded like a lighted match thrown on the floor, drenched in petrol, gasoline engines. "O Lord is the Lord's, it is shaming the people." This is not a pull-out. Shaming people. I got up to look out slowly, and you know what I see? A group of men near a table with drinks, dressed to the nines, all in a comfortable too. They laughed as if they were watching a comedy. One of them is a subject of wide with a watch that cost more than my house, and you spoke up in a tone of mockery. I would bet that he came to ask for a job. Another added, laughing even more. You came up to sell raffle." The sound of those laughs shot on my chest. My heart sped up. My palms have sweated. But to my face, it remained neutral. And do you know why? Because I knew something that they didn't know. How much more will they speak? The more you feel comfortable, the more you believe that you were in control. The Most High would be in the fall. And no, I wasn't there to take down a single person. I wasn't there for me, even a comment or a laugh. I was there to expose you to something much bigger. I was there to take down an entire system. And if you think this is an exaggeration, wait. Because of what happened next completely changes the game. I stood up again. Slow down. On purpose. It's not because I was weak, but that's because I wanted you all to look at. You know, when you feel that the next move will set it all up, it was just that. Every muscle in my body seemed to be heavy, but it was my decision was to take it. Clear. Very seriously. I took a deep breath, and I said, now more sure, the more you hear it, without asking for permission. I just need 5 more minutes. I've come to talk to you about your background. At the same time, I said to you, the fund? Something has changed within the air. That was quick, barely noticeable, but I vie. Some of the faces froze for a fraction of a second. A few glances as they moved, as if that hadn't touched on something sensitive too. But the sex was back. Because the US is arrogant, prefer laughing. Do you admit that you felt the fear? Wallace let out a laugh, short, dry, and said, on the bottom of the Lord, I must learn what it means to them. Now tell me one thing. Have you ever noticed how the people they try to slow down when you feel that you know more than what they were expecting? And so it came to pass. One of the more interesting that night, someone else, who I didn't even see his face, he threw in a disposable cup in me. It was not strong. It was not violent. It was the worst. It was disrespectful. The cup crashed into my shoulder, and he fell to the ground, rolling to a stop next to my feet. And soon after that, there was an oops for those filled with irony, for those that say it all without saying a word. At the same time, something inside of me and lined up. I've done the last thing that anyone in there I expected. I smiled. With a smile, little one, control, almost sad. Not a weakness, but in the mind. Because in that moment I realized something very, very dangerous to them. They were set in stone. And when that person feels the same, this person is shabby, talks too much, laughed the other, show too much. Brother, all the while thinking that he had finished the story, he made a gesture impatiently with his hand and spoke to Pro Madame. You can take it off. The security guard came by to fast, secure the other in and of itself. He held onto my hand tightly, as if I were an object is forgotten here. I felt his fingers shake, hard, cool, source, as if I was a bag of old man getting in the way. It was at that moment that I did something different. I haven't looked at them. I've looked up to you. So you're listening to me right now. Because in my mind, there was always this invisible camera. I have a channel. I've learned how to talk to anyone who's on the other side, just as if you were right there next to me, living this to me. So I will ask you right now, in all honesty, have you ever been treated as if it were not for the people, just for the sake of what it looks like? Ever walked into a place and was in the mood to change the time? He felt you don't belong to, even with no one to tell you this directly? If this has happened to you, comment below right now. What was the sentence of a more cruel than he had already said, only for you to judge the guy? Write it. It does not save. You don't want it, I say to them, because this is not just a video, it's a mirror. This story is not my own, and all I've done since that time. Not only was it for me, that was why each and every person who has swallowed the humiliation in silence, for all those people who have already lowered your head so as not to cause trouble, for all those people who came out of a place feeling a little not to be here. And trust me on this one. What's next? It's to the point where they realize, too late, the sin, the ugly, with the right person. The Ramon tried to pull out my folder. It was a fast-moving, automated, such as if you think that you've won the game. But I held back. I held him more tightly than my body seems to have. And then I said, very low, almost like a warning, it does not need to be repeated. No slope. He hangs up. Literally. And let me ask you something. Have you ever seen someone who has had a powerful recoil for a moment, and you lose all control at that point? I don't know if it was the tone of my voice, or if it was just something in my eye. But only for a brief moment, the one with great security, self-confident who has been trained to enforce the fear, it seemed smaller, a human being. It was as if he was remembered at all, right there, in that second, and that will also hurt. It's also wrong. It is also responsible to someone else. Wallace saw the break, and if it came to it quickly, annoyed. "Are holding," he said with impatience. "It's going to get worse, pro is the Lord." The threat came in disguise to the board, and it was there that I did the simplest thing. And at the same time, the most deadly. I let go of the hand of the folder, and I took it from the inside, an envelope, an old, yellowed with timestamps on the edges. An envelope is that it is not impressive for the visual, but it was a weight that no one in that room. I was ready to feel it. I picked up the envelope and slowly, as one who is not in a hurry, no. And I said, with the calm of someone who knows exactly what he's doing, this document was posted today. Today. I made sure to leave the word fall is in the air, because it's just for a day. Now, it is a matter of urgency. Now, it is beyond repair. Today, that is, when the decisions are no longer a promise, and you saw the result, and you know that, right? It is a place where everyone lives, contracts, signatures, and or matches from the power of the word today, as it weighs up different. She dropped to the ground, who felt that it was time to infinity. Wallace tried to keep your cool. He tried to laugh. You tried to slow down. You, he asked. The Lord is the one who, in the end, lawyer? I didn't say anything back. And that was a mistake for them, because of the silence which is well used and shouts louder than any of the explanations. Instead of answering, I started to walk around, a step-by-step instructions, straight to the main desk. And here's the best part about all of this. No one stopped me. Can you see it? Minutes earlier I was treated like a nuisance, as someone who had to be taken out. Now, they have opened up the space. Why, you ask? Because of curiosity, it is a slow poison. I had just spilled a single drop. People started to get closer without realizing it. The first step to it, and then another, as if the whole event is going to change the genre in the face of the sight of each other. And it was. It was more of a cocktail party than a luxury. It was the beginning of something else. I put the envelope on the table, the sound of him tapping on the surface. It was cheap, but in that silence, there seemed to be a thunder. And I say, looking at directly to the pro-limitation, and without raising your voice, before I get out of here, at least to look at. Brother hesitated. And let me tell you a secret that no one notices at the time. When someone has a powerful hesitate to, is it because he was afraid of? And the error that it was exactly that. Question. Because in that moment, I got the time. And in that place, in that type of environment, the weather wasn't the money. The weather was worth $1 million. And as long as they are still trying to decide what to do with myself, in the story, I had already begun to turn around, brother, and picked up the bag with 2 fingers, as though he were sick. You opened it. He took the paper, read it. On the face of it, it started to melt. You know, when a person tries to keep a smile, but her eyes remind us of the panic? It was just that. He passed the paper to the man next to him. An investor is well known there. the so-called Arthur Montalto. Arthur read it and blanched. In the hustle and bustle in the living room turned into an almost religious silence. I've seen it all without the hassle, because I knew you. The first blow was to be invisible, the kind that only the mighty are defined. Wallace tried to speak, but the voice did not come out. Arthur swallowed and said, stammering, Is this true? I finally spoke, glancing to the side. This is for a download, and it is not small. I pause. Rest is a weapon. They are 41,850,000 in the quotas, with immediate effect. The room exploded in a whispering. The people that I was there for 2 minutes, and now was looking at me as if I've turned into a ghost and richer. But the real blow came at the end of this document, because it's not just the money. He was in control. I pointed with his finger and said, the driver of the funds, it's me. And I swear to you, and I saw the people by means of his own language. Wallace took a step back, as if the ground had disappeared. And I felt pleased of strange, but it was a joy. It was a relief, because this was only the first game, and they still had no idea what it was from. Suddenly, people began to change the tone. The Ramon let go of my arm, stepped back. Wallace tried to smile, the kind, can we talk? The Lord, let us keep you cool. There must be some mistake. Bad idea. I almost laughed. Arthur Montalto, who had laughed at me before, now it seemed to be a minor. You can sit down and talk, of course. That's great. Oh, great. You know what it is, and see the people, arrogant, trying to become a friend in less than 10 seconds. It's ugly, it's hopeless, and it shows. I pulled up a chair and sat down calmly, as if the table had always been with me. The entire room is set in the mind, and it was then that I saw the one thing that I froze from the inside out. At the end of the room, near the wall of the glass, was a man who had smiled at him. He had not spoken a word. It was not tampered with. He just kept watching him. A man in a black suit, discreet too, the cold eyes, hands together. And when our eyes crossed paths, and I felt like I knew this presence. You don't know the name, and it gave me a chill, because I get it. Not everyone can go there. It was off guard. Someone's in there. You already knew that. And then, when I realized this, I began to suspect that my trap, it might not be the only one in that room. And then I'll ask you before we move on, do you think that money changes people? Or it just shows who they were? Comment here. What do you think? The more it reveals the character of power or bullying. I want to see what you think about it, because what happened next? We'll have to test this in a way that was created just for you. Wallace was still trying to regain control. If you are the driver, then you must be here to invest, be a part of. You can. I raised my hand. Not at all. That's it. No. The silence came back again. And I said, slowly, like one who opens the forbidden door, I did not come to be part of. I have come to end of a cycle. Arthur opened his eyes. What do you mean? I've looked at the pro after pro face of each of them. It was built upon a lie, and I've got it all. Wallace attempted to stop. You're blaming us for what? And I said unto him, you have made us the number. You have crushed people and calling it a strategy. The living room was very uncomfortable. Not because they have no empathy, but that's because I was talking too loud about what they are hiding. I opened my folder, and then I removed most of the things of reports, statements, contracts, records, messages in print. Wallace turned deathly pale. This is absurd. I stared at him. I stayed in the one that you've done that you don't have the voice for it. And then there was the sentence that has turned the room upside down. You stole the life of my child. Here the luxury, he died. Because the money you can to buy the silence, but you don't buy a child. Some of the deviated eye, the others were at a standstill. And the man in the dark suit in the back. Finally, it moved. He took a step. I felt my stomach drop. Because I realized, in the most dangerous part of the night was just starting. Before I tell you the sequel of the crazy that happened to you then, I'm going to ask you for something very, very serious. If you sign up right now on the channel, the truth, because of stories like this, do not appear by accident. I'll tell you that no one has the guts to tell you. And if you want to understand how the world works behind the facade, you just need to be with me here. Click to sign up now. And it is up to the end. Because in the end, it's a revelation. It took me a few decades to get it. Wallace tried to get up. This is an attempt at extortion. Safe. The madam looked at him, and it didn't move. Because I was a somebody. Look at how beautiful. I haven't changed it. The money is in the paper has changed my body and my clothes in my old age. But that has changed is the amount that they decided to give me. And this is the kind of truth that makes me want to cry. I took a breath and said, "Call whoever you want." Renato picked up the phone, and his hand was shaking. And then the door to the hall opened. And it came to a woman with a suitcase. Black, stance firm, and look at the operating room. Her name was Dr. Mara Sepin, and when it came I saw for the color to disappear from the face of the brother from time to time. She walked over to the table, as he comes to a place that you are already familiar with, and he said, "Good night. I belong to the independent auditors." Independent. That one word made the entire room to develop. Mara has put in a series of papers on the table. The case was filed. The freezing of the assets that are already in progress. And some of the people here, it's going to be called upon to give evidence in court. Brother blew up. This is a frame. Mara not blink. It is not a point of view, it is a process. And then I saw the man in the black suit approaching. He spoke out for the first time, in a low voice, but with authority. "Sir, can I talk to you in private?" I looked at him and felt a dread of the old one, a fear that I felt that I had done. And I said, "Who are you?" He said, "A piece of the past." And there you have it, my friend. My friend. I don't think it's that night. It wasn't just about the money. It was about a story that was buried, and she is coming to collect. I stood up, staring at the old man. Brother, Arthur, and the others seemed to be relieved, for a second, as if to someone who is more dangerous, he had come to take the focus off of them. And it makes me mad, because I realized that to them, I was still disposable. It only became useful for you. The man in the black suit approached him enough for me to feel the scent of him, a scent of cold that reminded me of the hospital and the office, and at the same time, he said, "You shouldn't have come." I laughed, walking. "Now, if you're with me," he said, without any emotion, "I'm mostly interested in the one that you are going to find out." The phrase struck me. I looked at Mara, trying to figure out if she was with him. She held her gaze steady, but when I saw a small movement of her lips, as if she knew more than she was saying. And then came the question that I didn't want to do this. My son, what happened to him? The man in the black suit, he bowed his head, almost in a respectful way. He was not the only victims of the system. It was play. This is the word cut me off. I felt my hands jalarum. And it was at that moment that I realized that I had built up a story in my head for years to come. A story where there's a villain, of course. But what a villain would be the more deep? What I used to believe it was just the first layer? I took a breath and said, "To speech." He looked around. "Not here." Wallace interrupted, desperate too. "This is crazy. This meeting is over." Mara was a document and spoke out loud. Just the same. For some of them. And then 2 men appeared at the door. They were no security guards for the event. And so, when I saw it, I realized the night had turned into a court without a judge. And I'm going to ask you one thing right now, because I want you to take it with me on. If you find that one person that you love has been involved in a terrible thing, would you rather know the truth or to live in denial? Comments on, "You're the type that wants the truth, no matter what the cost." Or would you prefer to rest? Because I thought you wanted the truth. Until the truth is staring at me from the back. I walked out of the room with the man in the black suit walking next to me. Myra came back. And in the meantime, Renato Valencia, shouting, trying to maintain his own dignity, and with all the bits and pieces that were left over. We walked in the hallway as quiet, away from the glare, away from the crowd. There was no witness. The man, finally, he said, the name of which I do not want to hear it. "Hello, my name is Darius the Lamb." I caught him. "Darius. This is the name I had hunted for years in your document's signature, and is a memory that I was trying to push it back down." And I said, You were on the board of the former." He nodded. "I am an operator. The man who did not have the things that fall clean. I felt nauseous, because all of a sudden I realized that the background was not just a place to invest. It was a crusher. I asked her, his voice failing, "And you, my son?" Darius took a deep breath. "Your son came into the system, trying to break down from the inside out. He thought he could do it." I felt my body weaken. Then he came too close. My heartbeat is strong. "You're telling me that they are—" Darius lifted his hand, as if to choose his words. "They destroyed the reputation of it. They made it appear to be unstable. Did he lose all of it? Friends, work, first name." I closed my eyes. It was the worst of any image that is on my mind I tried to create, because it was a death in life. Darius continued, "And when he saw that I couldn't do it alone, that he had left a trail for you, I opened my eyes, confused. A rake." Mara took a step forward and said, "The download now. It was not just his own. I feel that my brain is failing by the second." "What do you mean?" Mara has opened up a folder for her, and it showed an attachment, a part of the dues that were planned years ago. "In the case of certain conditions, they would be to you." I looked at it, not understanding. And then Darius let out a sentence that made me almost fall off. His son had planned it. He knew that one day is with the Lord was yet to come. He knew that they humiliarium. He knew that the mask would come the time when the Lord was rejected. I felt the tears come up, but I held back, not out of pride, but the shock of it all. Because all of a sudden, the public humiliation was not just an accident. This was the last part of the plan. And do you know what's more insane? The story doesn't end there, though, Mayra said firmly. "Do you think that today was about to knock Renato Valencia?" I swallowed dry. "Wasn't it?" she said. "Renato was just a facade. The top of the today was Arthur's Montalto, and behind them, there is a bigger network, the greater good." My head spun. Darius said, "And there's more." I've always felt that I didn't want to hear it, but I had to. "What do you think it was no coincidence that in the event that you have been today, what do you think it was a coincidence that they have left the Lord to go up to a certain point?" I looked at him. "You're saying that someone wanted to see how the Lord will respond to. Someone was trying to measure up to where you was going." I felt a cold nonsense, because then I don't think the last one's surprise. In the most shocking of all, I wasn't the only man who was crashing the system. I was in the test. I took a deep breath, and my voice came out low. "Who is it for?" Darius looked straight at me. "The one who's really boss. It wasn't in the room." I felt the anger rising like a flame. "So where was she?" Mara said. "The drought. Watch. I congela. Watch." On top of that, it was an experiment. And it was only then that I understood what my son is trying to tell me without you here, in order for the truth does not hurt. Don't laugh loudly. Does not appear on the stage. The power of the truth. Notice. And in that moment, I realized that my story was not about justice. I was about to accept the fact that I was used to, and you still choose to stay. I came back to the room, not to humiliate anyone. I went back to do a thing that no man was hoping for. I've got the microphone. And I say, looking back at them all, and without raising your voice, you told me that I did not have a profile. The room was silent, and I agree with this. Some of the franzirum the top of his forehead. I don't have a profile. It's an accomplice. I saw a brother to shake. I don't have a profile. The one who steps on people to rise up. I saw Arthur's swallow them dry. I don't have a profile. The one who buys the silence. And then I put the document on the table. It is from nowadays. It is not for you. I pause, and I felt every second of the beat in your chest from all over the world here. From now on, every cent of it will be crawled. The contract will be reviewed, and each and every person who has lost everything because of this game, it's going to be heard. Silence. And now that I finished, staring at the door, as if I could speak with my son, that I cannot be reached. Profile is chosen, character is revealed. I dropped the mic, and I walked out. But I did not came out the victor in the way movie makes it an opinion. I got it out. Know that you have got a bigger monster. And I left with a promise to you, a promise to keep. And now I'm talking directly to you right here, on the way to a more truthful as possible. If this is the story you have, leave your like, because it helps the channel to keep bringing on the stories that move us. Sign up now if you want more stories like this. Stories of injustice, the face, the courage, and the feeling of, I can't believe that this happened to you, and share this video with someone, you still judge people by their appearance, the clothes, the way they talk, the place where it came from. And I want to comment on right now, as specific as possible. What was the most shocking to you, to the humiliation, in the face of the document, or by the revelation of the plan for the child? You write down, I'm going to read it, I'm going to answer it, I'm going to fix all the comments on the stronger for it. Oh, and one more, if you've ever gone through something like that, tells the story. For real, because sometimes someone is reading what you've written. It's hard to not give up. And oh, it's showing up on the screen right now as a whole other story. And it is this. This is even more insane. Click to watch right now. Because if you think that this is the peak, you haven't seen the one that comes after it.